This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Right, so hi and welcome to the fourth now away end discussion point. This evening I am being joined by Paddy from Roker Report. So thank you very much, first of all, for joining us to go through the discussions of the upcoming game and of areas of past. Paddy, tell us a little bit about yourselves and what you get up to.
We're Roker Report. I've been involved for about 6 years now. It's been going for a few years longer than that. We do a bit of everything, really. We have a whole host of writers. We cover the women's team as well. Obviously, they're having a good season this year in the in their division, and the under-21s are doing quite well as well. So obviously that's up and coming as well, and we've got lots of coverage on that. But yeah, I mean, we have the podcasts, we have, we do player ratings and all sorts, really. It's a full package, especially on a match day. And it's really good to be involved with, and it gives a chance to chat to, like yourselves, chat to other fan groups, really, and just know that there's plenty of other groups out there who just have a passion for doing this sort of stuff. So it's we're going strong. It's really, really good to be part of. Excellent. And get a chance to write about all sorts, really, to do with Sunderland and current affairs and all that. What's going on with the club?
It's the same for yourself, really, as it is for ourselves. It's something that we do for the love of the club, and it's similar with ourselves in terms of our involvements, and we're branching out a little bit more as well as we continue. So it's should we say, fair to say, going to be interesting at the weekend. Obviously, Birmingham, last time we played Sunderland, we're actually playing against our current manager. So this one's going to be interesting discussions and areas that we'll cover off. But as always, we'll talk a little bit about the past as well, and some of the games that we have had. So, I mean, first of all, Sunderland are flying, doing well, just on the edge of the playoffs. From your perspective, how do you feel the season's gone so far, and did you expect to be where you are?
To be honest, it's been a really weird season. We started off really well. I think we won 6 of our first 10 games, and it felt like kind of the progress we'd built from last season. It felt like we were really building on that. And then we've kind of gone through this routine throughout the season where, if you look at the games we've lost, the amount of times where we've lost back-to-back games and then go back, back into a rhythm again, I think we've done it 4 or 5 times. So it's, it's a bit of it's a bit of an old statement to say we're having a bit of an inconsistent season, but that is the case. And I do think, though, it's testament to what we are trying to build, is the fact that we're only a point off the playoffs, and we're one of what feels like about 9 teams who will probably fancy the chance to get those last 2 places, because as everyone's sort of saying, and perhaps rightly so, that the top 4, I think, is pretty much sewn up. There's still lots of games to play, but you can kind of think it's going to be some sort of order of that current top 4. Then obviously, that leaves so many teams battling out for 5th and 6th. But no, it's been a weird season, because we've had plenty of good runs. We've built up a little bit of momentum, and then we've gone into a game where you think we should be able to add to this, and we've just not turned up. And I mean, last night's game was a prime example. I mean, we went to Huddersfield, and they were in a improving form. But I was thinking, even a point, really, a point would have probably got us back into the playoffs. But we just, it was one of these games where so many players probably had one of the worst games of the season. So it's kind of it's clicked in a bad way, really. But no, I mean, it's the story of the season, really. We're just too inconsistent, and I think, given the fact that how tight sort of, well, you can really say from 5th or 6th down to about 14th at the minute,
Yeah, it's so close.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I mean, even a point last night, I think we would have moved up 3 places because of results elsewhere. And we're still in with the mix. You know what I mean? Some fans kind of think that there's no hope of us getting top six, and some weeks it feels like that because some weeks we just don't turn up. But then other weeks we kind of try and we like the last couple of home games. I mean, we played Plymouth and Stoke, and in all fairness, Stoke were terrible, but Plymouth gave us a good go. And we scored 3 goals in each and got the maximum points. But it's hard to call because it's really a case of it depends if you're glass half full or not. If you are, then you think we're a point off the playoffs. We've got 14 games left to play. Who knows what can happen?
Exactly. Why not? And I think the league itself this year has been ridiculous. It's any
incredible.
team can beat each other, and it's similar in terms of form for Birmingham. And we've been on this run where up until the other night we've had something like 70 odd shots. In fact, until the point that we scored on Tuesday evening, we've got a count going, and it was 72 attempts on goal, and we finally scored. But prior to that, when we was under the Rooney regime, we couldn't score for love nor money, and obviously couldn't even get results. So under Tony Mowbray now, it's beginning to turn, and it's going to be a long season. But I'm hoping we'll be okay. But similar with ourselves, we went to Sheffield Wednesday last Friday, absolutely dominated the game, and just couldn't put the ball in the net, and ended up losing 2-0. So we're, in terms of consistency, we're very, very similar to yourselves. I mean, the record actually going into this game is exactly the same as what it was when I was talking to the team about Blackburn on Tuesday, and that's we're going in past 5 games where Sunderland have won 3 of those, Birmingham 1, and we've drew 1. In fact, the last time we played each other was back in 2022 at St Andrews, where Sunderland actually won 2-1. So it's going to be, for me, another close game. I think the return of Job to St Andrews, the fact that Mowbray's up against his old team. Unfortunately, and I know Pritchard is probably a swear word to some of you guys at the moment, but he does appear to be injured, so I don't think he'll be playing on Saturday. But I'm really looking forward to it because I think we're in a good space now, and it's it should be it's prime for a good game. So obviously this season you've beaten us 4-2 up at your place. That was tell a lie, 3-1 I think it was, wasn't it?
3-1, yeah.
It's looking at that was a game where we looked in it at one moment and then just went to pot the next. It was written on the cards, I think, in that game for Job to score, and he put away a great goal. And I tell you, I wish him every luck in the world because him and his brother have done absolute wonders for Birmingham, and his family have been superb. Come Saturday, though, I wanted to have the worst game of his career. So, so we've also got a bit of a mixed past, and I know we were talking and saying around players, and I really, when I looked into it, couldn't get over some of the players that have actually crossed paths into both teams, and I've got a few just to name because the list is so long. But it's also mixed in terms of the eras. So, I think of the likes of Kevin Phillips, Sebastian Larsson, obviously Job, Pritchard, this season. Or then we've also had players like Dion Sanderson, Craig Gardner, and Darren Carter that have represented both clubs. And then going back over quite a few years, but our good old crazy gang, as we like to call them, in Tony Coate and Mick Hartford and Howard Gale, all representing both clubs. I mean, what's your recollection of both of those types of eras and the players that you recall across both of them? I suppose Kevin Phillips is the one that really probably stands out the most.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was a little bit too young for the Phillips era, but it's one of these where sort of anyone old enough to remember, they'll tell you about Phillips at Sunderland. But no, I mean, out the players who you've named, I mean, I was a huge fan of Seb Larson. I thought he was brilliant. He was with Sunderland for a lot of years. He was often quite a bright spark in our sort of. It was a disappointing run in the Premier League. Really, I mean, it was. I think we got one top half finish in about 9 years, and the rest it was just kind of flirting with relegation. But no, I like Seb Larson. I thought he was as a dead ball specialist. I mean, he's one of the best I've seen. I think at Sunderland. I mean, some of the free kicks he scored were just fantastic. And I remember watching. He scored an absolute brilliant one at the Emirates. But unfortunately, we were on the losing side. But he scored this free kick from what must have been about 25, 30 yards out. And say he had no right to score, but it was just proper postage stamp. And no, he was good, and he always put a shift in. At the end, he was just one of the players who, understandably, he moved on when we got relegated, really. But no, I mean, I always liked him. I thought he was a good player. So yeah, I think he's probably one of the standouts.
Yeah. For me, he scored two. You mentioned about worldies there for yourselves, but he scored up two absolute worldies for Birmingham. One at Tottenham Hotspur at their old ground, where he just literally leathered one, and he was just like nobody was stopping it. But for me, best goal I ever saw him score was a promotion season for us, and he just picked it up on the halfway line in the Championship against Sheffield Wednesday, and he just ran and ragged and then put it into the bottom corner. And the celebration, I'll never forget it. He ran across the Brucey, his top was off, he was swinging it in circles. But he was the epitome of the type of player that we had at the time, which is hardworking, passionate, had the ability and the skill to go out and score those, worldies, but also was always there. You like to say, dead ball specialist. I mean, he was absolutely phenomenal. And I think, if I remember rightly, when he left yourselves, he went back abroad, didn't he? And then he retired after a couple of seasons. I think he's living the life of Riley now.
Yeah, he went back to Sweden, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he went back home for a couple of years, and yeah, I mean, I've not heard about what he's up to at the minute, but as you said, he's probably having a great time in retirement.
We haven't just had overlaps of players, though. We've had overlaps of managers as well. Obviously, the big one now, Tony Mowbray. I'll be honest, I was very, very shocked when he was let go at Sunderland. I thought he was building for you. He got that stability, and he had an eye, obviously, with the rest of the team for talent to bring through. And I was shocked. I'm not going to say I'm disappointed because obviously he's with Birmingham now, but I was shocked when he left. Obviously, the other one that overlapped is Stevie Bruce. And his time at Birmingham, he was brilliant. He took us into the Premier League. He kept us there. Arguably, probably had one of our best seasons in many, many years in the Premier League. And similarly, actually, had the eye for talent. I mean, to bring in Christoph Dugarry, for example, was just unreal. Nobody ever thought that would happen at Birmingham. But, what's your thoughts on Tony Mowbray and what's your background in terms of everything else as well with Brucey?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a big fan of Tony Mowbray. I mean, I'm thankful for what he did at Sunderland. I mean, we kind of brought him in after Neil. I mean, there was like that week where Neil basically quit and went to Stoke for more money, which is essentially what it was, really, what it boiled down to. And then Mowbray got drafted in, and I remember thinking, this seems sensible. He's going to keep us up. And at that point of the season, I think it was back end of August, I was kind of just thinking, just want to stay up in the Championship, really. First year back in League One, and then what he did with us last season was it was brilliant. I mean, it's some of the best football I've ever seen us play. But the weird thing with Mowbray is, I do think, for me anyway, I think his time was up. I mean, for a few weeks before he actually got, he got sacked and left, some of the football had it gone complete opposite direction. And similar to what you were saying there, loads of chances, but we just couldn't score. I think we had 3 straight away games where we had 50, 60 shots on goal and not a single goal. And I saw some of your fans talking about that, and it's like that sounds very familiar.
That's
You
it.
know, and it got the point, you know, where he just, no, he's a great guy. I mean, I think he's a brilliant bloke, and what he did at Sunderland was fantastic. But you know, when he did go, it did seem like the right sort of time because, yeah, I mean, the performances hadn't been good for a while, and it was a shame how it ended. I think realistically, the board had a plan to move him on in the summer.
Yeah,
And I remember it got leaked, and we were linked with a manager from abroad, and then you know he just got us. You know, we just finished sixth now, first season back. So
yeah.
obviously, there was understandably a lot of, you know, how can you do that? He's just, you know, he's got his top six. So it's strange because, you know, a lot of fans at Sunderland, we kind of think that he was sort of a victim of his own success.
Yeah.
If he'd got us mid table, we'd moved him on and we could say, thanks so much, Tony. You know, you've done a brilliant job. But because he did so well with us, we couldn't, the club couldn't get, you know, let him go at a time when they wanted to let him go and they had a replacement lined up. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it certainly, it sounds weird to say, but us getting in the playoffs definitely kind of messed up a lot of things in terms of the club's plan and what we were going to do with Mowbray. But no, I mean, I'm not surprised he got into a job straight away because it was a case of if he wanted another job, he'd get one
Yeah.
easily, really. And you know, it's one of these where I wish him the best, but not on Saturday. That whole thing.
It's weird, you know. Both of us saying that now. I wonder why.
Yeah.
I, I, we come on to Saturday actually, and you know, I've already mentioned it. It looks as though it's going to be a tight game. But what's your thoughts on the results and how things will go? And also, are you actually coming yourself?
I am. I am. I actually live in the Midlands, so Birmingham's one of my closer away games, which which is
No
always
excuse
handy.
then.
Yeah, it's nice and easy. But no, I mean, what worries me is our away record
Hmm.
because it's terrible, to be honest. And again, going back to last season, our home form was bad and our away form was good. And
Yeah.
typically, our home form's improved and our away form's gone backwards because you know that's the way it is. You can, you know, not many teams can be good both home and away because it's just not fair. But
That's it. You
no,
can't get away with it, can you? Simple.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, you know, we've won. The start of the season, we won back to back away games at one point, and one of them was a QPR, and I went down there for the game, and it was fantastic. And 4 days later, we won at Blackburn, and that's when Blackburn, you know, before they started this, you know, kind of demise what they've been going on for a while now, and you know, we played away from home like we were last season, where we were just getting into teams and sort of playing without fear and not having to worry, you know. But now this season, you know, we've lost to Stoke away, Plymouth, Huddersfield. We drew at Rotherham, who look destined. I mean, no, they've pretty much got one foot in League One, I think, at the minute, judging with how far adrift they are. And it's annoying because you know our home form has been really strong. You know,
Indeed.
we've dispatched a lot of teams at home, but away from home, it's just been a bit of a struggle. And to be honest, I kind of factor that in when I'm thinking of away games. Before I even think about the sort of team we're playing, I just think how different we are away from home. So I think that's going to be a factor again.
Hmm.
Obviously, I hope it's not, but I think it is going to play a factor because there's just. But the problem is, you know, it's not a case of it's a Mowbray thing, it's a Michael Beale thing. It's like one of the things what's been consistent is how bad we've been away from home, which is quite frustrating to be honest. So yeah, I think that will factor into it. And I think I was sort of, you know, I was hoping that your lot wouldn't get a win going into it and we'd get a result. And typically the opposite's happened. You've got a win and we're going into off the back of a disappointing result in a disappointing performance. But no, I mean, you know, I've been to St Andrews to watch Sunderland before, and it's, you know, it's always a good atmosphere. It's always it's definitely one of these grounds where it's you know, one of the old style grounds where you don't have too many of them left in especially not at, you know, at this level of football. Very similar to
Well,
QPR. It's
well,
sort
it
of
is
gone
at
where
this
there's
weekend as well. It's going to be, you know, I think for our available seats that are up for sale and stuff, we are very close. And in fact, it wouldn't surprise me one little bit if it's not a sellout. You know, we've got the new owners. The new owners actually challenged us in terms of what they wanted to do, and one of the things that they said was that they wanted to see a full stadium. So that's what should happen come Saturday, and it'll be good. You know, the atmosphere always makes it for both sets, and both sets of fans are great as well. That's the thing I like. You like ourselves. You show the passion not only for the game but for your club, and it's not a lot of animosity between us either. So it's always good banter, and I'm looking forward to it. So kind of it's the toughy question. I can pretty much guess what you're going to say, but give us your prediction for the score on Saturday.
Well, we'll not keep a clean sheet because, again, that's something, especially away from home, what has just passed us by this season. I mean, I'd like to think we can bounce back. I'd like to think that there's a lot of discussion about last night's performance that's taking place between Beale and the players.
Yeah,
we've had a couple of full days to kind of right the wrongs. So yeah, I always like to think I'm a bit of an optimistic fan, so it'll be tough. But I'm going to go for a repeat of last season. I'll go 2-1 Sunderland. I think, and I hope it's a repeat of the quality of last year's game because again, I went on that Friday night and everything about it, just the atmosphere and the intensity of the game was brilliant. So hopefully more the same.
Good. I think myself. I'm so self. I never ever back against my club unless Rooney was in charge. But I think we've come off the back of a decent result on Tuesday evening. The win had been coming. That's a little bit of, oh my God, when are we going to score? We finally get over the hurdle. So we're creating opportunities. It's a tough game. There's a lot for me riding on it from both sides. We want to get further away from those relegation spots. You're pushing for those playoff places. I think it'll be a tight game. I think for me, I'm going to say Birmingham to win. I'm going to go 1-0 because I just think it'll be a close one and it'll only be a goal in it. I'm looking forward to seeing Joe coming back and getting the applause that he deserves from his time at Birmingham. But I want him to have the worst game probably of his career on the night. So looking forward to it though. But thank you very much again for your time and for joining us.
No problem.
Here's to a great game on Saturday. As always, as we end it, is for yourselves, come and enjoy yourself, have a great laugh, but please go home with no points. And and good one. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Thanks so much.